Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hijinx Closing Vintage GeForce 87 series. Tonight, it's Martinsville for 200 laps at the Virginia 200. It's going to be a long one. This is our second to last race. We've got 3 drivers hunting for the championship, and that's going to be Christopher Morris Jr. leading the points. Behind him is going to be Dallas Myhan, behind by 47 points, and then behind by 100 points, asking for a miracle, but still mathematically possible is going to be Jake Houndshell. And these drivers are going to be hunting. It's going to be a long 200 laps. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Anthony McCurry. And Anthony, Martinsville is a very unique track. It's short, it's like a paperclip, and it's going to be a wild race just to watch with these drivers.
Yeah, these drivers are going to have to fight the track as much as they're going to have to fight the car, which isn't easy with these cars, being that they're so heavy, they're so powerful, little to no downforce. But the benefit to that is that when you get into these turns, it's almost kind of like running a really slow version of Pocono, where you kind of pick and choose where your line is and you can put it in there. A really short track, the paperclip, one of the shortest, if not the shortest track that these drivers are going to race at or have raced at this season. So, the inside line is of a premium, meaning that if you get there, you have the best shot of moving up through the field, as you don't want to be stuck on the outside line, especially in the marbles. It will mess your race up.
Yeah, all these drivers going to be focusing on how to get through this track. Last week, they were at Bristol, now here at Martinsville. And now we're going to be taking a look at our grid. Jeff Green in the 10 machine, our pole sitter, looking like one of the fastest cars out here and probably a favorite. A driver we haven't really seen recently, Blaine Atkin, he's back in second place. Going back to the second row, you got Jake Houndshell and John Whitendorf. There you see Jake Houndshell. He's going to be starting up front. He needs to be up front. Then you got Gerald Campbell in 31 in 5th place. Christopher Morris Jr. in the 3 machine in 6th place, doing a great job. He just needs to be up front and stay in front of Dallas Myhan and Houndshell. In 7th place, you got Seth Harrelson and Hank Steinmiller. Then back in 9th place, you got the 16 of Anthony Grettori, and then as well as Shane Lake. And both these guys looking to put on some good shows as we're going to go throughout the rest of the grid. Anthony, lights are off. We're getting ready to go. This is going to be a long race for 200 laps.
200 laps around the shortest track on the schedule. So we saw in practice that the average lap time is anywhere between 20 and 21 seconds, meaning that you can do about just over 4 laps per minute. So still a long race ahead of these drivers. The points lead, as you alluded to, is pretty much all said and done for Morse Jr. He's just got to have a good run tonight, and going into the final race at Atlanta, he should have a decent enough cushion to keep the points lead, barring anything weird happening there. But pace car is going to peel off. We're about to set those guys underway for 200 laps here at the paperclip.
Jeff Green, Blaine Atkin, who's going to get the better start here as pace cars off, green flag being waved, and we are away as a couple of cars in the back shuffling around, but Atkin got the better restart as they'll be on the outside, still holding strong, but here comes Green off the exit.
The outside line, not the preferred line around this short track, but he is keeping his own. He can get a bit of a better launch off the corners than can Green. So going to try stay alongside of Green, maybe make him have a mistake.
Yellow in the back.
The yellow's out.
That's going to be Dallas Myhan, one of our contenders right now. Early troubles for the 41 machine, which you do not want to see already on lap number 2, having damage.
This is not what he wanted to have happen. I'm looking at what happened, and it looks like they might have gone 3 wide into turn 3. I think they did go 3 wide into turn 3, and he got clipped.
That was the 16, the 5, and the 41, all going 3 wide, being clipped there by Schaefer, and not a ton of damage, but still early. I mean, you saw the aggression right there on that replay. These drivers are willing to do anything to try to gain positions, as we're going to take a blimp view of this caution. I mean, these drivers came in hot and heavy as they will continue to run around. For these drivers today, they will be working with 1 fast repair. So if you take heavy enough damage, you feel like you need to come in, you do have that fast repair to work with. Unlimited tires to get going. So these drivers have a lot to work with during this race, but early issues for the 41 machine.
Yeah, that's not what he wanted to have happen. He comes in 47 points back in the standings. Being that this is the second to last race, the penultimate race, if you will, that's going to be a bit of a heartbreaker for him. The good news is it's still very early on, has that fast repair available. No one's come down pit road, not even himself. So if he stays out, the damage might be minimal enough. You don't really notice that much damage the way it affects your car at this track as you would at other places. The cars barely have any aero to begin with, but then you go into the fact that this track is a bit slower than most of the races that you're going to see on the season. You can kind of get away with a little bit of damage here and there, but if your car starts feeling a little off, the steering might not be up to snuff, then you're definitely going to want to come in. But I think that my hand at this point should be okay in the early stages. But these drivers were aggressive at the start. We saw that 3 wide going into turn 3. It means a lot to these drivers, track position does, and it is a long race, but when you look up and see that we're already on lap 5 and we've been under pacing for 3 laps, if we go on a green flag run, it could get to the point where you're scrounging for positions at the closing stages of the race.
Yeah, I went back to see who that car was that we saw as marked on the 16. That 16 car on your screen is not, or registered 16 on our ticker. That is actually Rocky Boyd that you saw get very aggressive, trying to go 3 wide. We'll have to keep our eye on that as pace car pulls off. Jeff Green out to get us to the green here as 5. Now coming up to 6 laps have been completed for these drivers as they're already starting to fan out. Blaine Atkin has gotten to the inside quarter panel, and that 05 machine with a great pass, as well as Whitendorf trying to hold off Jake Hauschel.
Atkin thought that he could get to the inside on the restart, does indeed do so, should be able to get around Jeff Green, and does. Oh, a little bit. Whitendorf almost got into Green a bit on the right or left rear quarter panel, I should say, is they're going to get into single file racing for second place, but Hauschel and Wettendorf are still battling. Hauschel stuck on that outside line. He does not want to be there. That's basically going backwards at this racetrack, so he's got to get to the inside as quickly as he possibly can. I would dare say that you might want to let Wettendorf go just a little bit here, back up Campbell a little bit just to get to the inside line, fall in the line, because you're losing positions at this point. You're sitting duck. It looks like that Hauschel got a little, Wettendorf got a little bit loose. He's getting more loose off of turn 2.
As Weindorf holds off, Campbell had to back out. He almost went 3 wide into that corner. Gained a little bit bumped by the 3 machine. Seth Harrelson, you saw blink there. That's going to be nerve-wracking for the drivers being so stacked up. As now you're also seeing Stein Miller trying to make a move forward as they're still side by side. Hauschel stuck on the outside like you stated. And Christopher Morris Jr. might be trying to make a pass here on the 83. But as they have these woes here are battling for third place, our top 2 have just checked out, being 1.3 seconds ahead of that group that was just battling.
And they are in a battle themselves for the lead because Green has been on the back end of Atkin the entire time that we've been talking about the battle going on for the third place position, looking to try and capitalize, maybe get Atkin a little bit loose. That's the benefit of this track also, is that you can give them a little shunt going into turn number 2 and, turn 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, really. You can do it anywhere in the track, and you can really get the back end of the car upset, get them to check up, not flat out spin them, but we're under yellow again. And that looks like the 11 and the 96.
As we're going to check a quick replay to see exactly what happened back here.
This looks like it might have been... The 96 was slow for a while.
That's Randy Koken coming in just a little bit too hot and bumped the 5 machine, and it put him sideways, putting him stuck. So Randy Koken, early troubles for... as you see on there, the 46, but on our ticker, the 11.
Yeah, that would be our second yellow. We got it beached on the little rumble strip there. Got it off the track though, and going the right direction. There's already some rubber forming at the top of the racetrack, so that's going to be something to note on the restart. But that is what put us under yellow the first time tonight, and no one has elected to come down pit road this time either, so obviously they're feeling...
One driver did, I believe, as we're taking, that's what you saw, the cockpit view of Randy Koken, as we'll now get back up front. First car in is going to be Rocky Boyd in that 25-16 machine. Right there, that's Rocky Boyd. So we do have 216 cars out there, just so everyone's aware. But the rest of the field running
second
around.
one. This is the second of the two 16s. So do not judge your screen, as Sam said. This is actually what's going on the racetrack at the moment. But Blaine Atkins still the leader. He's actually put up a pretty good fight against Green during that green flag run.
Yeah, I mean, staying close. Both of these drivers extremely quick, as now Todd Eldridge going to be coming into the pits and pulling that 96 machine in to get some repairs and possibly some tires. Like we stated, unlimited tires for these drivers, but haven't really been able to run too long of a green flag run to really wear and tear onto these machines.
No, and I think they can really save their tires at this track if they're careful. This is not a really tire-hungry racetrack, so if track position is a premium, I would not want to pit this early on in the race and give up a lead position, especially if you're someone like Akin, Green, or Whitendorf. Seeing how hard it is to pass at this racetrack, the only place you can really do it is on restarts, and if you really, really gutsy, you can throw it into turn 1 or 3 and make it stick, but so far, we're running around. Atkin, Green, and Whitendorf is your top 3. The lights are out in the pace car, and Sam, we're going to put them back to Green one more time.
Yeah, getting ready to go green. Already our second caution of the day before we got to lap 15. We'll see if we can get ourselves into a long green flag run here, or if we'll have another quick caution coming up. Pace car is up. Lane Atkin and Green right on top of one another, ready to go. Atkin kind of holding everyone up, doing kind of accordion, infecting the rest of the middle of the pack, but gets going and holds off Green for now.
He does indeed do that, and it looks like that Campbell is going to get to the inside of Whitendorf, who finds himself on the outside line again. That's going to be Houndshell going to the underside of him at the moment, trying to get the round. Oh, but Whitendorf sticks it right against the rear or the side of the 31. There's a lot of battling going on around the racetrack. You've got back there, I think that's Seth Harrelson in a battle between himself and Steinmiller.
Yeah, I also saw that there was some contact between Green and Atkins, so our leaders battling it out. Caution to the back, though. That's going to be Schaefer, I believe, that brought this one out.
The 5 spins it around in turn number 1, I think is why we're under the yellow flag. That puts us under yellow for the 3rd time tonight, and it was, I think he just lost it by himself.
Yeah, just was a little bit too high and losing it there. Probably came in with a little bit too much speed and was trying to slow down while turning, and that's what looped him around.
And we were talking about how the rubber forming at the top of the racetrack was going to be a problem for these drivers, and I think that was a perfect example of that. He came in too fast, got up off the racing line into the rough stuff and spun it. So I guess a mental note for these drivers, if they want to not do that, is to stay on the inside line, as I think Schaefer has given a great example of what might happen if you go up to that high line. And that kind of is a bit of a downer for some of these front runners who thought that they could run side by side, maybe challenge, drive it in deeper and arc it through the turn. But if that happened to Schaefer, then you want to think that these guys are going to be a little bit hesitant to do that when they're battling.
Yeah, they're going to have to keep out and keep their eyes out on that grip. Probably later on they might be able to have that groove coming in, but for now it's not there. Drivers that have just came into the pits, it's going to be Hank Steinmiller as well as Eric Schaefer coming in. Schaefer might be going a lap down here as he's trying to get out of the pits before the leaders do, and will do so. So keeping all 17 drivers still on the lead lap. Our 3rd caution of the day on lap 20. Anthony, this was a possibility coming to a short track that we were going to start to have a lot of cautions early on in this race, just because of how clustered up everyone's going to be. And, you're trying to figure out everyone else's braking points. It's sometimes you're just not in the right spots, but we're starting to see it's a lot of drivers self-spinning kind of here early on.
And they're trying to outbrake themselves and trying to find where the best braking zones are on this track. You also have to find out how much speed you can carry into a corner and see if you can get up to the front of the field. And I think a lot of drivers throughout practice were testing the waters on that, but really didn't have the opportunity to run around a lot of drivers to do it. So they were able to kind of do it without any problem. But now they have other drivers that they have to worry about. And I always make the joke that it's a shame that the fastest line on the racetrack is just so happens to be where other drivers are. So having to figure out how to coexist with your fellow teammates and not only that, but your fellow competitors, it's a struggle for some of these drivers. But here's hoping that maybe these drivers figured it out and we'll be able to have a nice green flag run. We're going to go to green on lap 22 of 200 here tonight. We're about ready to take the green yet again.
Green flag back out in the air, and it's going to be Blaine Atkin trying to hold up, but Gerald Campbell going to be throwing it on the inside, getting under green here for second place, as well as Whitendorf trying to keep inside from Houndshell as Blaine Atkin continues on forward. Here comes Gerald Campbell, and Campbell talked about us last week during his interview after he won the race. He felt comfortable coming here to Martinsville. Not the best qualifying time that he could have put up, but he is still showing that he's got pace in this 31 machine as he's battling back and forth with the 10 of Jeff Green.
Jeff Green with a nice crossover out of turn 4 has now gotten himself to the inside of the 31. Going to try and see what he can do here into turn 3. Still side by side. Going to get a better launch out. Oh, there's some contact between the 10 and the 31 going on to the front straightaway, but Green gets the position. Campbell's going to fall to third place. Whitendorf and Houndshell still battling, and there's your points leader, Morse Jr., who is trying to just have a solid finish tonight. He's got the championship going his way. If he can have a great finish tonight, then he is going to solidify himself as a clear championship defender going into Atlanta, but we still got a long way to go through this race. Side-by-side battle is still in front, and looks like the Jeff Green is going to catch up to Atkin.
And Atkin now going to be hounded now by Green. And yeah, no, Christopher Morris Jr., if he somehow wins this race, and the other two competitors of Jake Houndshell and Dallas Myhan finish back in last place, I believe there's a chance that we could be seeing Christopher Morris Jr. lock up the points here tonight. But it's all about where they finish, what bonus points are given out. And honestly, just a lot of calculating is going to happen after this race based on where drivers finish. But right now, our top 3 looking quick, as I think Jeff Green might be the quickest car out here. But Blaine Atkin, those restarts have helped that 0-5 so much.
0-5 able to get a nice launch off the start of the race, or the restarts of the race, and has gotten a little bit away. Although, don't count out Campbell either. He showed he's got some pace. Speaking of, he drifts into turn 3, almost lost the 31, but he saved it. What a fantastic save by the 31. And now he's still running in third place. That car looks wicked loose. He's going to go around. And right for Morse.
Morris Jr. had nowhere to go. The 3 machine collected up into that. I think Dallas Myhan might have ran into another driver as they're now trying to back up, give each other space. Campbell into the wall again. Oh, this is terrible for those drivers, as we're going to take a quick replay. See exactly at that moment you were first talking about where Campbell initially got loose, because this is where everything started for this 31 machine. Drifts into turn number 1. And due to drifting it there, he just carried so much speed, heating up those tires, that coming into this next corner, excuse me, that was corner number 3, now into corner number 1, the 31 machine just loses it on his back end with just too much heat.
Yeah, a lot of heat was built up into those rear tires, could not get the grip and spun it around, and you got to feel bad for Morse, who was just running a simple race, had the position. He just had to have a great run and now finds himself collected in this. But this is good news for the other 2 battling for the points lead, because they find the points leader with some problems. They might be able to capitalize on this misfortune of the 3 car, as a lot of drivers into the pits this time. As we see, the 10 is in. Pretty much all the leaders are on pit road this time, apart from Steinmiller, who actually pitted a while back. Shane Lake, I think, stayed out an extra lap. Is now going to come down pit road. But man, chaos happening in the lead of the race. And that just shows you that Martinsville is not kind to anyone. Doesn't matter where you're running at on the racetrack. It will catch you out if you're not careful.
Issues for the 0-5. He's still in the pits. There might have been a penalty given to the 0-5 or repairing some damage. He did have some front end damage there for the 0-5, Blaine Atkin. So possibly getting damage repaired, but most likely a penalty given, as right now everyone is coming to the pits except for our top 2 of Hank Steinmiller and Eric Schaefer, who have pitted back 12 laps ago.
Schaefer was one of the ones that self-spun earlier, so he finds himself in an interesting spot of being second place, having had to come down to get some new tires. He didn't get any contact with the wall, so no damage on that 5 machine. Be able to keep going, and Steinmiller pitted early for some reason. I'm not really sure why he pitted so early on. He didn't have any damage. He didn't spin, didn't make any contact with anybody, but he came down to pit road under the caution before this one. and now he finds himself in the lead of the race. I don't think that was strategy, but it's definitely worked in his favor, as now Green, Houndshell, and now Rocky Boyd, who finds himself in 5th place. So move Boyd way up the field, now running in the top 5.
Yeah, our top 5 look completely different from when we had our last caution here. Hank Steinmiller leading the way, Eric Schaefer, Jeff Green, Jake Houndshell, and now Rocky Boyd, your top 5. And then you got Whitendorf, Campbell behind them. Looking, we're going to take a quick look here and see if anyone came in. The 3 did not do a fast repair, but everyone's set up, ready to go. We are green flag once again with Hank Steinmiller leading the charge, as we'll try to keep things under wraps on where drivers are. But Eric Schaefer did not get a great restart, and he is jam-packing the middle of the field right now as that 5 machine tries to get going, and everyone else throwing their cars everywhere, trying to gain as much space as possible.
The 5 not as fast as everyone else, as you alluded to, trying to get out of the way, but there's really no space to get out of the way at this racetrack. He's got some pace, and he doesn't want to lose too many positions, but there's something else on that 5 car that's gotten a little bit weird, is that I don't think he has any damage, but you can see he's physically struggling around this racetrack, trying to get something out of that number 5 car, but he is still soldiering on. He's actually under fire from, that would be Guerreri and Onsen, who, speaking of, he drives it in deep and almost got into Whitendorf. Hank Steinmiller under fire from Jeff Green and Rocky Boyd. Boyd has made his way up to 3rd place, going to try and get the lead, goes Green to the inside. So now we have a battle going on for the lead as he almost goes in the wall to Steinmiller.
Yeah, Steinmiller trying to keep it high and out of the way. Rocky Boyd has been on the 10 Machines bumper, but beside him, he's been trying to figure out how to get by the 10, but Rocky Boyd just does not have the strength at the moment in that 25 machine to make this pass, but he continues to use the bump and run, hoping to get by the 10 or at least move him out of the way. It's just not working, and it's so early to try to use a bump and run because a driver will remember that and will try to drive you the same exact way later on in the race.
Yeah, if you treat a driver poorly this early on, you can almost expect that it's going to happen to you a long way into the race. You have to be careful not to anchor anyone around you, or else, you're going to find yourself on the receiving end of something. But so far, the battle for the lead has gotten a little bit better towards the middle of the pack. Here's some battles going on, but look at this battle brewing for 3rd place. Actually going to be battling for 2nd place in the moment, because Campbell, Houndshell, and Whitendorf are catching up to Boyd, who's lost touch a little bit with Green. Green has had a hooked-up car all night long. We've been consistently saying he's the fastest car on the racetrack, and I got to say, I think he is, because he's actually got gapped himself between Boyd and now Campbell bringing in towards Boyd. So, you still think that stands, that Green is the fastest car on the track at the moment?
I really do think so. I mean, Green, he had a little bit of front-end damage from him making contact with Akin earlier, and ever since that damage, he really hasn't been hurting him too much, and he's just been getting faster and faster. As we look back here from Rocky Boyd's point of view onto Gerald Campbell, as you can see, still has that front-end damage from that caution earlier where he was involved with Morris. But now these drivers still trying to run as quick as possible, but Green is pulling away. He's almost got a 2nd lead on the rest of the field.
Whitendorf sent it into turn 1 underneath of Houndshell. There's a little bit of contact there as Whitendorf got a little loose coming out of 2. Able to keep it alongside of the 83. What can he do into turn 3 and 4? Still alongside, battling for the 4th place position. Give it to Houndshell at the moment. And now Whitendorf's got to go back into 5th. He's going to set himself back up again for another attack in turn 3.
Caution to the back. That's going to be Seth Harrelson. That's going to bring this one around, as he was actually going to be clipped here by Zach Onsen on the entry of turn number 1, I believe here. As you see on the replay, you got the 07 trying to slow down for the 3 and then gets tapped by the 51, and more chaos ensues. Actually clips, I believe that was Koki, that got a little bit of damage there as well, bringing out our 5th caution of the day.
Yeah, just a simple stack up there. Nothing really much to add on to that one. There's a lot of drivers just kind of rushed in, not really seeing what's happening. These turns are kind of blind a little bit when you're going in them because of the pit wall, so I don't necessarily blame anybody for not seeing what was happening. But Harrelson, the one that got the most damage out of all of that, so he'll have to fall back into the 15th position at the moment. All of our drivers are still running on the track, though, so that's something good for a lot of these teams. And the points leader on the pit road at the moment.
Yeah, coming into the pit road as well as a lot of others. Drivers that are staying out, though. We got a total of 8 of them staying out, led by Jeff Green, John Whitendorf, Anthony Granori, Hank Steinmiller, Dallas Myhan, Lake, and Kokine and Eldridge are going to be your 8 drivers. Coming out of the pits, though, that should be first is going to be Rocky Boyd, who dashes out of there in front of Houndshell, as those drivers were really flirting with almost making contact outside of the exit of pit road there. As a driver that actually stayed in way longer than expected, that's going to be Gerald Campbell, that really had to stay in the pits way longer than everyone else, trying to get some more damage repair for that 31 machine.
Yeah, some more damage adding on to his car. So it racks up a little bit. We'll have to see what he can do. He was running up to the top of the field, but had to bang out some of the damage from the earlier incident. But running back in 16th at the moment. He's got a fast car, so he might be able to carve his way through the field. Still very early on in the race. We were actually approaching 25% of the way through the race, as lap 50 is going to be upon us very soon. These laps, although been under yellow for the majority of the race, we've also seen that when we get into some green flag runs, the laps go by really quickly. So these drivers, we alluded to earlier that if you're going to make a move, you got to do it quick, as there's some damage on the front end of Jeff Green's car, I've noticed just now. So I don't know where he got that from. Might have been some contact with what may have been with the leader Atkin at the moment from earlier in the race.
I believe it must have been some contact there. As other cars are also slowly gaining contact here or there, but the pace car is off, getting ready to go. Coming to the start of lap 47. Green flag up in the air. Drivers in the back all scrambling to figure out where they're going to be placed. As Green trying to hold off. That is going to be John Whitendorf for the 33 machine. Granori going to be up behind them. But drivers in the back still side by side scattering around. As it looks like Todd Eldridge gets into the 3 a little bit, and others behind the scenes. And coming into the pits, it's going to be Rocky Boyd who has issues. Eldridge still trying to figure out how to get out of the way and struggling to do so. That was Jake Houndshell that got into the wall, as he got a little bit of a push from Kokine off the exit, and in front of them, Dallas Myhan being shuffled back.
We are still green, though, so do not adjust your TV set. We are still green, although there's a lot of action going on. The 41 in Myhan almost had a moment going through turn 3, and bouncing off the wall. Woo! And the 25 done. The 25, I just noticed when he came down to pit road, he did that as a defense mechanism. He didn't want to go to pit road, but he saw that what was happening, so he went down to pit road to avoid an incident, to actually just come back onto the racetrack. It's going to be a lap down, but he's going to be in the mix of all these drivers. There's a wreck going on almost. Steinmiller and Atkin got some contact, but they save it. We're still green somehow. This last restart has been pandemonium from the set onward.
And they continue to just, oh my goodness. Steinmiller does not look comfortable out there. He's on the much older tires than the rest of the field. We got Atkin and Kazi going to be on the fresher tires driving up through this field. And then you got Steinmiller, Dallas Myhan, and Lake all on the much older tires. So they're trying to just hold on while the rest of these guys really can get into the throttle and carry so much more speed than the rest of the field. As in the back, Lake almost spun it around.
This battle back here. There's a lot of battling going on the track. You go all the way up here. You see Myhan battling on the inside or outside of Campbell. You see, it looks like that Eric Schaefer is on a charge. He's trying to get back up to the front of the field. He was up there a little bit earlier on. That 5 still with some struggles as he's going down to the inside, the extreme inside of the back straightaway to the outside. It's going to be Harrelson, who spun around earlier. Harrelson way up the racetrack, up into the gravel, and now he's going to find himself losing 2 positions now, or actually he only lost 1 to Zach Onson. But Onson, we haven't talked about him all night, having a bit of an issue trying to get to the front of the field, but I don't necessarily blame him. He's been around this entire pack for the entire race. And
Onson! Get contact with the 5, and the 5 goes up into Steinmiller. Excuse me, that was actually into the 07.
And you thought that something had to break there. And it did for Schaefer. And it looks like that's someone else. That's Todd Eldridge who got slowed up by that.
Onsen gets into the Schaefer there. They make contact. Schaefer overcorrects, gets into Harrelson, and then Schaefer gets going, and Eldridge just avoids the 5 there. Woo! That's a hold your breath type of a moment.
That's a lock the tires up and ask questions later moment. They almost saved it. I was surprised at the effort of Schaefer. He almost had that car saved. Again, I would have locked the wheels up and just saw what happened. He might have been able to save it, although it gets a yellow flag. At what cost, though? Getting sideswiped, or actually more like T-boned, going into turn number 3. But we're under yellow yet again. A lot of drivers on pit road this time.
A lot of drivers on pit road. One driver did not. That's going to be Joseph Kazi. That's going to be out here in that Back to the Future scheme for the 46 machine. Drivers that are in the pits trying to get out as quick as possible. Leading the way should be Jeff Green, as we are behind on our screen. Now we're good. As you see there, Jeff Green getting 4 tires and getting ready to go again. Kazi just running laps behind the pace car.
Indeed so. I don't think he has any intention to come down pit road either.
Campbell went with 2 tires, as well as Dallas Myhan.
Oh, so there's some dice being thrown. It looks like the Koking's going to come out of the pits quicker than Green. So does 2 Atkin. So Atkin with a blazing fast stop. So a few drivers opting for a shorter stop. Koking had a 5.6 second stop. He had to have just taken tires. There's no chance he took fuel on that stop either. So maybe some left sides or right side tires for the 11. Man, there's a mixed bag of stops that happened that time by.
Yeah, it was a lot of drivers making some different choices, but now's the time to do it. We're not even at halfway. Might as well try something new. I mean, these drivers most of them haven't used their fast repairs yet, so a lot of chances to just make some bold moves that you want to be able to make later on in the race.
Yeah, especially if you want to try, like you said, if you want to try something that might get you an advantage later on, this is the time to do it. But pace lights will go off on our safety car, and we're going to set these drivers back up again for another run. Kazi finds himself the leader in the 46 machine. I don't think he intended to be up here, but here he is nonetheless, is running a very beautiful paint scheme, I should add. Campbell and Myhan are going to be running in second and third, and then Koking and Atkin make up the top 5, I should say. Otherwise, Koking is coming down pit road again, waiting for the green flag, and we get it. Kazi did not get initially a good start, but now he's done it, and now Myhan and Atkin are going to run it into turn number 1, and here comes Green yet again with a battle going on.
Keep your mind out that, Dallas Myhan is one of the drivers that went with the 2-tire stop. Same with Gerald Campbell. But since Dallas Myhan did not get a great start and he's been stuck on the outside, he's losing all of these positions that he once gained. Now looking like it's a complete net loss with going with the 2-tire stop.
So that's something to think about for later in the race. And speaking of tire stop, the guy who took nothing was Kazi. He's actually holding his own. He's running a little bit slower than some of these drivers would. That last lap was a 21.7, so he is definitely holding up some of these drivers. But if it comes down to a late race decision where you have to stay out versus coming in, you can do it for a couple of laps. So that might be some strategy calls. And whoa, there's contact with the 05, and he's going to save it. Spins it to the inside of the backstretch. Caution is out now on the racetrack, and the 46 spins it in turn number 4.
Oh my goodness. Blaine Atkin almost saved that thing, as Kazi as well as issues. First, let's take a replay and figure out what exactly happened to Blaine Atkin. I mean, you kind of saw it on there on screen. A little bit of contact between himself and the 46 coming out of the corner, and he almost wheeled that thing and just need a little bit more space to work with. And then right after that, we also saw the 46 get a little bit out of shape in front of them, completely out of sorts after Atkin went around. So these drivers putting on a show and try the best they can. It just looked like Kazi, though, in the 46, when he got loose, it almost looked exactly like what happened to Gerald Campbell earlier, where he just kind of got out of shape because of so much heat in those tires.
Yeah, it wasn't able to get any sort of grip in those tires, and they were old tires also, so there might have been something a little bit wrong with those tires. The near spin didn't help him either. But speaking on Atkin, that was one wild ride that the '05 took, and I was watching it. I was like, "There's no way he's going to save this." He almost saved it, and had he not hit the inside retaining wall, I would have thought that he could have snapped it back around and kept going, but. Tough break for the '05, tough break for the 46, who found himself the leader after that exchange. '05 on pit road getting his service done. He's out on away. That hands the lead back over to Campbell, who has seen a plethora of things happen in front and behind him this race, and now back in the lead with a very fast Jeff Green going to restart behind him.
Yeah, Jeff Green, Gerald Campbell, they're going to be continuing to battle on as we're under caution, coming to 65 laps being ran. We're going to do a quick side-by-side action. When we come back, we're going to go green here once again after caution number 7 at the Virginia 200.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our
Pace car rolls up for the Hijinx closing vintage G-Force 87 series here at Martinsville for the Virginia 200. It's Gerald Campbell, Jeff Green, John Whitendorf as we go green once again, coming to the start of lap 66, and they all fan out, trying to figure out who's going to get the advantage into turn number 1. Jeff Green could get under Campbell, but Green holds off Whitendorf, which pushes him up. Here comes the 16 machine.
And to the inside goes Gruneri, and he's going to try and make the pass into turn number 3. Going to hold it to the inside as much as he can. Does get the pass done. Now it's going to bring Houndshell back into the mix as he's going to battle for the 4th place position as the battle for the lead heats up between Green and Campbell. There's battles all over the racetrack, but the one that we're looking forward to now is the lead of the race as you had a look. Going to go into 3, going to back up, try to get the run out of 4 going down the front stretch.
The key to watch out here, Gerald Campbell is the driver that took a 2-tire stop 12 laps ago. Jeff Green went for 4 tires. So we're seeing right here, Gerald Campbell can make the 2 tires work if he ever feels like he needs to really take a jump over everyone else. And also everyone else can take that in the back of their mind. 2 tires might be the way to go late in this race if you are behind in positions.
I would only do that if I have a sustainable car that doesn't have a whole lot of damage on it, as Jeff Green does not. We saw a guy try to take 2 tires earlier and actually went backwards. That was the 5. I think he actually took 4 tires and actually went up backwards. Oh, there's a crash in the back. I think that was almost a crash in the back between Atkin and Shane Lake, but they saved it. Looks like that Lake bounced off the outside wall into Atkin, but they save it going down the back stretch. Now Atkin is going to take his sights on Harrelson. There's a bunch of battles going on the racetrack at the moment, and you got to think that these guys, they have not let up a single bit since the start of the race to this point. Do you think that the sense of urgency for some of these drivers has set in where, yeah, it is a long race, but the way that it's been going, I don't want to be anywhere near the back or the middle of the field because that seems to be where everything happens, and a lot of these drivers still haven't figured out how to get their car slowed down enough time in order to miss people.
Yeah, I mean, you know that Jake Houndshell, he's trying to get up front as quick as possible. He's so far back on points that if he's not able to cut into the deficit he's in, he will be mathematically out of a chance for a championship here. If he's not able to be at least, I believe, doing quick math here, he needs to be at least 6 positions ahead of where Christopher Morris Jr. is. So right now, Houndshell is all about getting up front, staying up front, and hope that 3 machine cannot find himself in the top 10 and hopefully finishing outside of the top 10. As Green in the back, yellow in the back, that's going to be Causey bringing this one out.
It looks like that might have been a self-spin. I'm not sure if there was anything that actually happened to the 46.
Ooh, there was a little bit of blocking going on. Dallas Myhan blocking the 46, and they both get a little bit out of shape. Myhan saves it, but the 46 of Causey cannot, bringing out caution number 8.
And that was, I feel, a bit aggressive. This early in the race. We're not even halfway at this point, and I as a commentator don't think that move should have been made, but it was fun to watch, I will admit, going into turn 3.
Then you see the block, the contact, not able to save it, and it's difficult when you're entering a corner. You're hard on the brakes, trying to slow down, while also trying to make a pass, and you're just not able to commit completely. And contact will usually pop your car up, and losing the rear end usually means you're going to be spinning around.
Yeah, especially at this track where minimal banking and no aero on the car, basically. And we find ourselves under another yellow, Sam. This is a familiar place that we've been at all night long. And I want to ask you, do you have any bold predictions for the rest of the race? We're not even halfway yet, but we've seen driver aggression be at a height, and it's getting down to crunch time for the season. A couple of drivers looking to capitalize on Christopher Morris's hardships earlier in the race, that being Houndshell and Myhan, who is finding Myhan finds himself in the 5th place position. So going into Atlanta, the points might be a lot closer than we thought they would.
Yeah, I mean, Myhan right now, his goal is to finish at least 3 positions or more ahead of Christopher Morris Jr. to really make a dent into that gap. It's a lot closer than what Houndshell's is. But as these drivers are trying to figure out where it's going to be placed, I was looking back. Some of the drivers were posting some of their thoughts on this racetrack. They knew it was going to be difficult coming in. Christopher Morris Jr. did not have a lot of confidence coming into this race. It was going to be really tricky for this driver, and just the setup seemed very hard just to hold on to, as we've already been seeing a lot of self spins so far, and everyone is just trying to figure out this track. And probably by the time we get past halfway, some drivers are going to figure this out, and some are still going to be lost on what they're supposed to do here.
Yeah, it's a tough track for any car, really, and these cars specifically, as we've seen a plethora of different types of tracks on this season for these drivers. And you think back to some of the super speedway tracks, these cars without restrictor plates, so they were basically drifting through Daytona and Talladega at one point, and then the road courses, the short tracks, heck, even the 1.5-mile ovals, they have all been tricky for these drivers. We've got a 1.5-mile oval coming up for the end of the season. We should see them flying around that track. But this track has been tough on these drivers. Nothing that they can't master with a little bit of running. And we see a lot of rubber being built up on the high line. And if some of these drivers get up into that rough stuff, I said it earlier in the race, but it's definitely more so now that we're going to see some more spins if drivers get up there.
Drivers are going to be trying to figure out how to stay up ahead. Some are going to be trying to figure out how to drive through traffic. Jeff Green going to be leading the way as we go green once again with 123 laps to go here at Martinsville. And John Whitendorf going to be leading the way behind him. We had a total of 6 cars that stayed out. And the first one going to be driving back is going to be Randy Koken. And that's where everyone's starting to scatter in the back of the field, trying to figure out how to get by this 46 machine, as they are all still trying to figure out, as they're 3 wide trying to get through. Onsen makes contact. Schaefer makes contact with Onsen, as they're still slow in the back of the field, trying to figure out where to place themselves. As you can tell, the cars that feel uncomfortable being here. Oh no! The 16 gets into the wall.
That was Granary, and he saved it, though. He's going to go and continue to be in the 3rd place position, but for how long? The 83 of Houndshell going to try and make quick work of the 16, going down there. Turn 1, there's a wreck going on the back. We're still green, though.
That is shocking to see.
There's multiple cars involved, but they've gotten going the right direction. We're still green. 3 wide into turn number 4.
As they're 3 wide up there. Contact we saw on screen with the cars that were involved. Rocky Booty for the leaders. Oh my goodness, they're scattering. Rocky behind. Oh no.
And now the yellow's out.
Carlson hard involved. The 31 and the 3 were involved with the actual yellow that came out. As we're going to take multiple views of what happened that brought out this real caution and what should have brought the caution out earlier.
Wow, I'm surprised that they didn't throw a yellow flag for the first incident. That happened in the middle of the racetrack. Nothing for those drivers to do unless they got to the inside and they deemed to not be in the area to throw one. But man, 3 drivers crashing on the front straightaway.
Yeah, it was one of the flukiest things that happened. It was coming out of the corner. We're going to take a blimp view to see if there was any other contact that happened. It's going to be in the middle, that black and blue teal colored car. You're going to see coming out of the corner, just a little bit of contact with the 07, and away all three of them went, spinning around. And oh, you hate the contact that happened there, but now we're going back to seeing what brought out Rocky Boyd and the rest crew in the back of the field, how they got involved in a wreck, because they were stuck there for a while. Rocky Boyd was still kind of stuck where he was at, as you see here from up above. This is what could have brought out our caution earlier, as Coquine gets into Rocky Boyd, spins him around. Eldridge had nowhere to go. He hits Rocky Boyd as they try to get going here. You're going to see a retaliation from Rocky Boyd to Coquine as they get going again. And this was right in front of our leaders when they came out of 4. As right there, the retaliation hit. Rocky Boyd starts spinning around. Our leaders come, and he brings out the rest of the car spinning behind him.
And I am still baffled that this was not a yellow until those 3 drivers.
Oh, there was Houndshell spinning. Didn't see that before.
Houndshell, yeah, you're right. Houndshell spun around also. So a lot of drivers involved, and you got to think the 16 was not happy about anything that happened. It actually was trying to go hunt down the guy who spun him around. But another important note is that the 3 was involved in all of this. He is going to have more damage on his car. So this is going to be really nice for my hand, as he's running in the 5th place position at the moment. He's got the 3 going to be mired back down. He's actually higher than I thought he would be. He's actually running 7th at the moment. There's a car running around with its hood missing. I believe that is the 3. It is the 3 running around with its hood missing. So that's not the 3, that's the 41, and that's not his hood missing, it just looks like an engine cap. So forget what I was saying, it looked like something else.
You know, sometimes our eyes just mess with us with certain illusions that pop up, so it's totally all right. A lot of cars so far involved with a lot of heavy damage here, bringing out caution number 9. This is probably our biggest one so far, of drivers trying to avoid the lap cars that had their little wreck beforehand, and shocking to see.
Indeed, it is something that we didn't think was going to go that long before a yellow flag came out. There was 3 separate incidences that should have brought a yellow flag out. The 3rd one was the only one that actually did it. But that might be the marshals thinking that these guys, you know, the self-spins, maybe the 2 cars that get wedged up against the wall, maybe that's not worthy of a caution anymore to these marshals. Maybe they're thinking that we'll let them race. We'll see if we can get these green flag runs to go on a little bit longer, and hopes that the race might be green for a little while and we can see some battling. But look at your top 3. Atkin, Causey's back up here in the top 3, and Jeff Green will line up in 3rd as we're about to go back underway at Martinsville, waiting for the green flag. We get it. We're back underway, and it looks like, whoa, look at Weidendorf with the run down, trying to get to the inside of Green, but nothing for it, as Green now back on the tail end of Causey.
Already wrecking in the back, as I believe that's going to be the 6th. That's going to be Steinmiller involved, as well as Granary involved. Oh, already on this quick restart, caution number 10 strikes before we even get to lap 100.
And I think Granary had to tow it to pit road. He might be done for the night, as something was amiss on that 16 car.
It was just an accordion effect of too many drivers lined up so close in a very hard braking zone entering turn number 1, and nowhere to go for any of those drivers.
He tried to make something happen, and it looks like the 3 of Morse got into him. Yeah, it was just an accordion. Like you said, not a whole lot of place to go anywhere for these drivers, and that's one of the downsides of this track being so tight, is that when someone misses a braking zone, 4 drivers in front of you feel the after effects. But we're going to line them up again. We're still under pacing. No one has pitted. Blaine Atkin, Causey, and Green, your top 3.
Top 3 trying to get set up and ready to go here for this race, as you know, it's going to be a wild one for sure, as you're starting to see Lake trying to get one of his laps back. We do have multiple drivers 1 lap down. Granary is trying to manually fix that machine right now, still in pits for that 16 car. Rocky Boyd was in 3 laps ago after being in the pits for a long time, bringing himself to 5 laps down. And looking at these drivers, Steinmiller looks like he'll be trying to go for a wave around, but I don't believe he'll be given that. So he'll be starting in the back.
Somebody got a wave around just now. It looks like the second of the 16 car is coming down pit road, trying to get some damage repaired on that machine. That would be, I believe, on our screen is 25 of Boyd, but it's a 16 of Boyd to all of the viewers watching the race. And we're going to line them back up. It's going to be Akin Causey Green, like we said. It's the safety car is going to go around one more time. Sam, we have been witnessing quite possibly the most aggressive race that these drivers have had so far this season, and it really has been the downfall of Morse. So we thought it was going to be the downfall of Morse, but he finds himself running in 6th place just due to the fact that a lot of these drivers in front of him have had misfortune. Some of the drivers behind him have misfortune, so maybe he might get out of this race with a bit of a buffer going into Atlanta.
Yeah, and really feeling good for that 3 machine of Christopher Morse Jr. Really only has had a handful of issues, and all the content that he's gotten hasn't been very aggressive. Yes, that one spinning down the front stretch contact with Gerald Campbell was massive to see, but really wasn't the 3 car who got the brunt of that damage. So still looking good, still able to come in, take a little bit of damage repair here or there, and then get back out on course. So right now, still saving those fast repairs. And that's the one positive thing about Martinsville, is most of these wrecks aren't going to blow your engine, aren't going to cause you to have too much engine damage as a whole, which allows you to keep on racing and keep your fast repair for later on in the race. Blaine Atkin, Causey, Green, Whitendorf, and Dallas Myhand, your top 5 getting ready to go green here as we're coming to the start of lap 93, getting close to the halfway.
And it looks like that we're going to see some battle. Oh, it looks like that back there. My head had a look down to the inside of Whitendorf, but thinks better of it. Causey's actually keeping pace this time, which is something that he was struggling to do the last time we saw him on the lead of the race. So we're going to see what he can do. He's actually going to try and get to a battle with Atkin, but now Green is going to try and spoil the fun on that party. He's got him, Whitendorf, and Myhand behind, and check out Christopher Morse keeping pace. That 3 machine has been through the war zone and back, and now he is still running in the 6th place position, actually holding off Zach Onson, which was at the back of the pack a few laps ago, now finds himself running in the 7th place position. So a great run for the 51 so far tonight.
Yeah, Onson's been around a lot of contact with his car and able to continue moving forward as we move up to Jeff Green, who's right on the back bumper of the 46 and attempted to use that front nose to move the 46 possibly here. So Causey gets a little bit loose out of exit. Onson spins around to the back as everyone has to scatter around as Onson piles it into the inside wall for that 51 machine, bringing out our caution number 11. And once again, Anthony, we're not even at the halfway marker.
I should not have said anything about Onson. The commentator's curse got to the 51. Gets on the... Looks like he got a little contact with the rumble strip and was able to spin the car around. But man, the commentator's curse strikes the 51, and hopefully he does not go back and watch this broadcast, because I have a feeling I'm going to get an angry email later.
Yeah, he just rides on the rumble strip halfway through the corner, just lifts up, trying to drive with 3 tires, and it's extremely difficult with these machines with how much horsepower is in them, which then gets the 51 around, bringing out caution number 11 for us at the Virginia 200. Man, Anthony, it has been a long race as we're inching closer and closer to the halfway marker. This is we were expecting there to be a lot of cautions just because of short track racing, a lot of short tempers and short fuses for these drivers. And we're starting to see a lot of the fact that the track just doesn't like these cars. The rumble strips have been eating up a lot of these machines here lately on the later parts of this race. Early on, it was a lot of self spins. Now it seems like the rumble strips is what's difficult. It's a mixture of finding up that balance of, do I run the outside line or run as close as I can on the inside?
Yeah, it's really trying to find where your car is most comfortable at. We've seen some drivers run kind of, not really the extreme low line, but we've seen them run a bit of a middle to low line. Not quite all the way committed, but not quite all the way committed to the outside or the middle line either. So it really is seeing a lot of these drivers using different sections of the turns to try and get the advantage. These cars are extremely, I mean, you can muscle them around, but depending on the way you've got your car set up, they can be a bit picky on where you want to run them. So Atkin has done a good job of figuring that out, but the 51 did not, as he gets on the rumble strip and pins it under yellow. And I want to throw this out to you, because I don't know if it will happen. We're going to have to wait and see, but do you think that potentially if we get into a fuel run later in the race, do you think that fuel might become an issue? Because we haven't really seen what these guys can do under a long green flag run. If we get to that, these drivers, they have to have in the back of their minds that fuel might become an issue as well.
Yeah, I mean, usually I think if we were at 1.5 miles, I think fuel would be an issue right now with running 200 laps, a lot of lap times to worry about. Due to the fact that we are at a short track at Martinsville, I believe that everyone that has pitted so far, even Blaine Atkin, who is the furthest car that has not pitted since 26 laps ago, I think everyone is still good to make it to the end. The fuel run that they can go for is about 120 laps to 130. So these drivers feeling pretty confident. Pace car lights are still on. So these drivers, fuel-wise, shouldn't be an issue. It's tires that they're going to be thinking about on if that's going to be important for the later parts of this race. But what I'm seeing right now, it's all about track position, even though Blaine Atkin has had the older tires and just been trying to fend off the rest of the drivers behind him.
Indeed so, and about ready to set these cars up again for a restart. Blaine Atkin, your leader, Kazi, and Green. The same top three that we had the last restart. We'll take the green flag this time. Safety car pulls off onto the pit lane. We're going to watch them go around yet again. Can Atkin get a better run out of turn 4 that he did last time? We'll have to wait and see as we're waiting for the green, a long hold for the green flag this time as we're back to green. And it looks like that he wasn't able to get away from Kazi, but now Green is going to challenge the 46 yet again. Can Green get around the Kazi this time? Oh, he gets into him! Green shoves Kazi out of the way. He's going to be on the inside line. Can he get it slowed down? Yes, he can. Kazi with
my hand. Campbell. More contact between the two as they keep it straight and keep on rolling ahead. But watch out behind him as Schaefer getting a little bit of contact there from Harrelson and Houndshell right in front of him, though. Kazi might have been the cause of that caution. As I look back, it actually might have been Eldridge.
Kazi was slow. He was on the grass, so something happened to him to slow his efforts down. He's going to be back in 8th place. Yellow flag back in the air. What happened to Kazi is the question, because
self-spin entering the corner.
He did self-spin. So Kazi not being it looks like he was trying to save it, checked up, and then went around. I don't know if that brought out the yellow, though.
I believe that might have been it. Everyone else had to slow down immediately. We'll take a different look from other cars that are out there on track. I saw Eldridge slow, but I don't believe he was the cause of the caution here. As like he saw smoke slow down immediately. I think that's what it was. That little self-spin is what brought out caution number 12.
Well, yeah, I think that Kazi's trying to maybe trying to get some more tires on his car, because he went out for a long time on those tires. Actually, I think he was the car with the oldest tires running in that lead pack. So yeah, to your point, tires is a premium for these drivers, and see if anybody elects to come down pit road. We're on about a 31 lap stint for the leader of the room.
Atkin was not giving room to the cars that had the wave around there, and almost contact between that was I believe Hank Steinmiller and Blaine Atkin there. That could have been awful for both those drivers. But yeah, no, it's terrifying to see.
Some mind games being played by Atkins, saying, well, yeah, you're back here, but this is where you want to be. I'm going to make it hard for you to get your lap back. But still, he finds a green behind him again, which green has been fast all night long. We should see a nice battle between these two drivers for the lead of the race. And back there, now Whitendorf finds himself back in 3rd position. Myhan finds himself in 4th. Morse has found his way back to 11th, which is good for Myhan, but bad for Morse, as he's going to lose a chunk of points, but I don't think enough to really get him concerned.
Yeah, and we're talking about points. We've got the 3 drivers that are hunting and are mathematically possible to win a championship. You've got our points leader, Christopher Morris Jr., ahead of everyone else, and you got Dallas Myhan, who's 47 points back on the coming into this race, and then you also got Jake Hounshell 100 points back. Both those drivers want to finish in front of the 3 machine of Christopher Morris Jr. at this moment. And we always talk about what if, how are these drivers going to look in the final race? Well, we've already raced there before at Atlanta, and the driver that won that race, it was Jake Hounshell that won there. So looking to try to sweep at Atlanta, but it's all about, can Jake Hounshell crack into that gap that he is going to be really having to battle for all race today? And if he doesn't have the best finish possible here today, his possibles for a championship might be already toasted before he even has a chance next week.
Yeah, and not only that, but when we get into next week, it's not all said and done for those top 3 either, because then Hounshell has to put on a Herculean effort if he wants to get the championship away from the top 2. He's going to have to finish a lot of positions in front and have them have some bad luck throughout the race in order to have a shot at it. But you got to have a shot to have a shot. So we're going to have to wait and see. All those questions will be answered when we get to Atlanta for the season finale. But right now, Atkin is about ready to set us back underway for the Virginia 200. We're going to see what he can do. Green flag in the air, another long hold by the flagman, and now we're back to green. What can green do to get around Atkin is the question, but Weidendorf looks like he has something for the 10 car.
Weidendorf trying to figure out how to get by Jeff Green. Jeff Green run on the back bumper. We've already seen Green use the bumper to get Causey out of the way. Will he use it here on Blaine Atkin to move the 0-5? Weidendorf gets a little bit out of shape out of 4. Continues to run straight, though, as everyone else in the middle of the field staying pretty much single filed out and keeping it safe for now. 91 laps to go. When they cross the line, 90 laps to go. I mean, Anthony, it's still a very long race for these drivers. We just passed halfway 10 laps ago. It is still a lot of things can change, as there's still a lot of fast repairs to worry about. And right now, Blaine Atkin doing a great job staying up front, and the rest of the field trying to figure out where they're going to be to move up front.
Yeah, it's a long way to go for these drivers, so they got to get into a bit of a settled run, as some of these drivers not willing to do that earlier in the race. They've had a lot of contact with other drivers, but I think now is the time that you really need to get into a rhythm. As I say that, it looks like Schaefer got a little bit out of shape, actually went up and almost kissed the wall into turn 3 and 4, and he's actually still causing problems in the back of the field. He's running a very slow car and a very slow line at the moment. Harrelson almost got in and spun the number 5 around, but still going up in front of them. You have Onsen and Causey in a battle.
Oh, contact! Harrelson hard in the wall, as well as Schaefer, bringing out caution number 13 here today on lap 113.
And that was, I think that might have been retaliation.
I think it might have been a little bit of looseness, maybe, coming out of the corner, but I mean, the 5 car was high. Harrelson was trying to go down low, and then it just came down. I mean, looked like a little bit of looseness from the 5, but of odd caution to see coming out of turn number 4.
Maybe the 5 might have gotten loose, so your point. That was... Yeah, we're going to call that a racing deal, but man, that was... you might see those two come together later on in the race, because that was pretty... Oh, speaking of later on in the race, on the pit road, there was a bump between Harrelson and the 5 of Schaefer, so some tempers flaring between these drivers as entering on the pit road. So I think Harrelson's going to remember that little incident for a long time, as on the pit road, they're still side by side with each other. I can feel the tension from here, and you got to think that it might boil over later on in the race.
Here's that entry we're talking about with the contact between them, as they make the contact there. They continue to go down pit road and still very close to one another as we continue to watch them going down pit road. Yeah, tempers seem to be a little bit high as we just get by halfway, as drivers in the middle of the pack really trying to figure out where they're going to be moving forward. As Anthony up front, Blaine Atkin looking quick, Jeff Green there, Weidendorf showing that he's got a little bit of pace to work with here. I think the surprise, though, in our top 5 has to be that Dallas Myhan up in 4th place. Gerald Campbell's finally back in the top 5 in that 31 machine.
Yeah, Myhan and Campbell doing a great job so far tonight. Myhan has been running up here pretty consistently, I should add. He has had some issues throughout the evening, but is still looking that he can have some pace. Have to see what he can do in order to get up to the lead. I think he has the potential to get the lead of the race, although it's going to be a battle. You got to get around Green. Green is undoubtedly one of the fastest cars on the track, but don't count out Blaine Atkin. Atkin has showed tremendous pace throughout the entire evening. We should see him be a favorite to win also. So the safety car is going to go around at least one more time, two more times, I should say, before we put them back to Green. And Sam, what are your favorites to win this race? We've seen so far the advances of some of these drivers, but who do you have going for the second half of the race?
I mean, I would like to throw in Gerald Campbell, who has probably the most wins so far this season in the 31 machine, but I think up front, Blaine Atkin, I think he's going to be my pick so far to win this thing. He's just looked way more consistent than everyone else. Jeff Green has been up there too, but I think Blaine Atkin might be that driver to be up front. But yeah, honestly, the 10 and the 05, my picks.
And those are pretty solid picks as the safety car is going to come in this time by. We're going to go back to Green. Atkin, Green, and Whitendorf are your top three. Myhan, Campbell make up your top five. We'll do a full field rundown for you while we're waiting. Houndshell, Causey, Lake, Eldridge, and Koking will be your top 10. And then on back, Schaefer, Onsen, Harrelson, Steinmiller, Morse Jr., the points leader in 15th, and Boyd going to be making up the rest of the cars running. Graneri has retired from the race, our first and only retiree at this point in time, as we're about ready to set them back to Green Flag Racing. Another long hold. Atkin underway, and now Green is stuck right with him. There's a slower car back there. I believe that's going to be Campbell that's slow.
Campbell in 5th place as a wreck in the back, as that is going to be Onsen, I believe, and Eldridge making some contact.
And as soon as we go to green, we're back under yellow. The 96 spins it around in turn number 1, and that's going to set us under our, I believe this is our 15th yellow flag on the evening.
It was actually going to be Koking initially bumping the 96 around, and then Onsen, with nowhere to go, bumps the rear end of the 96. I think that's a pretty straight, simple thing of each other really not knowing each other's braking zones just yet, as we'll take actually a blimp view, as this one's going to be a little bit higher up so you can see what's going on. You got the Stars and Stripes 96 machine just trying to slow down because of other cars, and Koking not slowing down, driving through the 96. And Morris Jr. almost got collected in another accident there, but able to survive.
Not quite what he intended to have happen, but man, almost got through that okay. It did the 96. He almost saved it as he got tagged in the back, but back under pacing again. So these drivers have, especially these leaders, have had a bit of an easy day so far, as Atkin, Green, and Whitendorf. Green has never left the front of the field, although he'd like to be leading the race at the moment, not running in second place, because if this race comes down to being under yellow for the majority of it, then I mean, running in the second place position is nice, but you're going to have to get the run done. And he's not been able to really mount a charge on the 05 and the amount of laps given for him to run. But this might be strategy. Might be running around to size up Atkins, see where his struggles and strengths are. But we are going to be on lap 122 of 200. We got a long way to go, Sam.
Really long way to go, and I think it's time for us to take a side-by-side commercial as we're running these pace laps. Get to talk and see some rapid-fire piece of commercials here, as we will be right back.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation.
That was Veterans of Foreign War. Sorry we had to cut you off because it's time to go green. Blaine Atkins, Jeff Green, John Whitendorf, Dallas Myhan, and Gerald Campbell bringing us to the green once again with lap 125 getting started. 76 laps to go. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Anthony McCreary here for the Hijinx Clothing Vintage G-Force 87 series here at Martinsville for the Virginia 200 as a pass for the lead, getting under the way. Jeff Green trying to getting under this 05. Anthony, it's been a wild one. We've had 14 cautions already, and I don't think we're done just yet.
Oh no, not by a long shot. Oh, the leader gets in the wall. Oh man, and Green had to check up, so Atkins is going to get away with that. Oh, there's someone spinning. I think that was right behind the leaders. I think that's Shane Lake. Someone was spinning around in turn number 3. There's a lot of drivers, including the 3 cars around.
Mayhem in the back as Eldridge tried to get through. Dallas Myhan, I believe, was the one that initially spun it around, as we're going to take a quick FRN replay.
Man, that was something a little bit weird. I don't really know what happened.
It's going to be the 2 drivers hunting for points. Hound Shell and Myhan getting involved with one another. It looked like it was a little bit of netcode that initiated it. But I don't think the 3 got too much. A lot of the drivers that were involved, besides the 41 that hit Dallas Myhan, it was a lot of just like little hits and dings. Not a massive amount of contact that should hurt him on the long run.
That was definitely netcode. It's the front end of, well, I believe that was the 41 actually went inside the nose of the 83. So definitely a bit of netcode going on there. But yeah, a lot of drivers just checking up, trying to get away from the spinning cars. And unfortunately, they spun around themselves. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get the car slowed down. As a lot of drivers on the pit road at the moment. Steinmiller, one of them, actually going to come out first place. Does Steinmiller off a pit road, so he actually had a much quicker stop, 2-tire stop for the 63. Jared Campbell has stayed out, so that is something to note. He was on pit road recently, so
he wasn't. No, he was out there for 46 laps. I think this might be just a strategy call on his part, thinking I want to see how these older tires compete to the rest, because he's been the one who's been doing a lot of different strategies so far as Gerald Campbell. He's the one who tried out the 2 tires, made it work. Dallas Myhan was the other driver that tried that out. Didn't go so well for himself. But interesting to see the much older tires for Gerald Campbell. 46 laps ago was the last time that 31 car came in. The rest of the field just came in this time by. So we'll see what old versus new with tires react here as we're trying to get underway again. Anthony, 15 cautions so far as we're trying to get closer and closer to 3/4 of the way done. You asked me this question 2 or 3 cautions ago. Who do you got that might be able to win this thing?
I still have a lot riding on Green. I think he can pull something out if he can get around Atkin. Atkin has made his car as wide as it can possibly be in the effort to stop the 10 cars progress going through the race. So I think it's going to be a battle between Green and Atkin. Although, if Green gets impatient, he might try something a little bit desperate. Maybe try to bump the 05 out of the way and get the lead via that method. If that happens and they both spin, then don't count out Whitendorf. He's been at the front of the field pretty much all night long. He's been another consistent driver who stayed within the top 5. I would say that Whitendorf might have something for these drivers.
John Whitendorf, who won back at Talladega and looking for more wins, as he believe he also won at the Glen. So, Whitendorf looking for more wins for himself out of the potential chance for a championship. That's between Christopher Morris Jr., Dallas Myhan, and Jake Hounshell, all trying to figure out how to be up front, as this is the penultimate race here this season. Trying to see who's going to get it done. And who will be having a chance for the championship next week at Atlanta, as we're green once again. It's scattering happening all over again, as now you've got Gerald Campbell on the inside being pushed by the 0-5 Blaine Atkin, and Steinmiller kind of stuck on the outside being boxed in.
Yeah, not really going anywhere fast with the outside line being so slow, and now it's going to allow Green to go to the inside. You're wondering what the old versus new tires are going to be like. I think we're seeing what's happening is that 31 not being able to carry as much speed through these turns, although he is keeping his own just a little bit, which is something a little bit surprising given the fact he's on, I think, or at this point in time, he's on much older tires. Something like 47 lap old tires or something like that. There's a little bit of contact between Steinmiller and my hand as they're going down the front straightaway again. So far, we're green. A lot of battles going on, but man, give it to Campbell. He's managed to make this work for him.
Campbell's making it work. Another driver that came up that brought out our last caution, the 41 of Dallas Myhan, went for a 2-tire stop. So he's trying to make the 2 tires work this time around. The first time didn't go so hot. This time, he's right now running in 5th place, trying to get up to 4th, side by side with Hank Steinmiller, as our leader is trying to pull away. The battle for 2nd place, though, Green is going to use that bumper. We've seen him use it already. He's not afraid to move a driver out of the way. And Campbell, if he doesn't move now, as he drifts up a little bit, opening up space.
Oh, he's sliding his way out of turn 4, and that's going to allow Green to have a run going into turn 1. Actually thinks better of it. That's a veteran move, backing out of the action, as there's plenty of laps to do this in, so he doesn't have to do it right now. He's going to have a bit of a back there. Steinmiller got into the piece of the wall just a bit, but all this happening behind Atkin is actually kind of checking out on these drivers, and if these drivers don't get around the slower car of Campbell soon, then he might have a pretty big advantage coming into these
around, spinning around, bringing caution number 16, and luckily didn't hit the wall, but that right there shows the difference between new and old tires, as that car completely stepped out on the entry.
Not enough room to make something happen. He actually had to slow down quite a bit. He actually got on the brakes pretty fast. I don't know, there might have been a bump between him and Green, though, that sent him faster into turn 1 than he wanted to, because that was a shot going into turn 1.
As we're getting this replay set up for you, as they came down the front stretch, they were close to one another, but Green backed off. There wasn't any touching. That was just Campbell carrying too much speed and just could not whoa up enough and find himself completely sideways through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think he felt the pressure from Green and thought that if he can slide it into turn 1 that he might be able to make something happen, but obviously could not do that. Car snapped around on him. He's actually going to come down to pit road now. I think if those tires weren't done before, they definitely will be after that spin. But we are going to be looking here. Looks like now Atkin had about a 2nd lead. That's the biggest lead that Atkins had all night. He was enjoying about a 2nd lead. Now he finds himself back under fire from Green. Myhan's now in 3rd, so that is great for him, as Morse is still running in 8th, but definitely something better than having them battle each other on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Morse Jr. Still a heavily damaged vehicle. I think a lot of these drivers are waiting for possibly 50 laps to go, if they still have a fast repair to possibly use it then, or even with 30 laps to go if a caution comes out. Most of these drivers that haven't used their fast repairs yet, I don't think anyone really has. It's hard to tell if anyone really has used the fast repair at all, because of how much damage. It hasn't been very aggressive damage to make it to where you have to use fast repair because your engine blown. So, Anthony, right now, it's looking like a lot of a chess match at this point to figure out, do you want to use your fast repair or not?
Yeah, and I think that for some of these drivers, if they can nurse it around the track for the amount of laps that they've got left, and then at the very end of the race where you absolutely need your car to be at 100%, then I would be shocked if these drivers would use it before the final 10 laps, because, like I said, they want to have that fresh car to battle for position with, and like if you can nurse it, then you can probably get something out of this race. But we're going to go around one more time so far tonight, as we're going to be going green on lap 143, I believe, is when we're going to be going back to green. 143 of 200, almost 75% way through the race. It has been a long one for these drivers, but not a really intense one for these leaders. They have been pretty calm at the front of the field, not really showing much pressure at the moment. Although Green, he wants to get around Atkin because it's been shown that he's got the faster car, just having struggled finding a way to get around the 05.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. If you've got at least enough speed to get off the corner so the car behind you can't get below you, you could do a decent job of just running pretty slow, holding that inside line, and kind of being a block for the cars that are behind you. If you haven't noticed already throughout the race, our top left, our logo has been pink, and that's because we are actually helping out with the Breast Cancer Awareness Fund. If you go to our description below the video here on YouTube, you can see the link there to help and donate for the Breast Cancer Awareness Fund. As right now, we're getting to go green. It's Blaine Atkin, Jeff Green, Dallas Myhand, your top three, getting ready to go. Green flag out in the air, and they aren't scattering as much as they were before. Kind of playing a little bit nicer here as they're getting ready for the final quarter of this race.
Yeah, they got to set themselves up for the run to the finish. Oh, there's a car that's way up on the outside line back there. I believe that was, I couldn't quite tell. I think that was Eldridge that was on the high line in the back. The 96 car, he's actually still kind of running the high line back there, but at the front of the field, everyone kind of single-filed out. The 05 still leading the race as Green is going to try and make some moves on him. And Myhand is showing some pace later in the race. He might be a force to be reckoned with once we get into the later stages of this race. As looks like Whitendorf also trying to come up. Houndshell also making his presence felt. So these two drivers in the points trying to make something good happen, but don't be too comfortable yet because Morse is only running an 8th, and he is within the same camera shot. Ooh, looks like
it's going to be Seth Harrelson being involved with that one as the 07 continuing to have some woes in the back as we take a quick replay to figure out what exactly happened here to bring out caution number 17.
We're going to go back and look at this. I think
we got dove down by 2 cars there.
Oh, and it's the 5 again. So we saw that Harrelson and Schaefer were having a bit of a moment earlier in the race. But it's happened again. The 5.
Well, yeah, I think of mainly there. I don't think Harrelson was expecting that Schaefer was going to be right on the back bumper of Rocky Boyd there. I don't think that was intentional then to make contact, but I think that was just because cars were diving in so hard that thought there was more space.
Although, if you're a driver and you see something like that happen, whether it was intentional or not, given the fact that these two have made contact earlier in the race, you know that his blood's still going to be boiling from that. So you're going to have to watch the progress of these two drivers. But some cars on pit road electing to come get some service. It looks like Morse is going to be one of those. The 31 of Campbell is coming down pit road yet again. He's going to get 4 tires this time. Actually, 2 tires. He got left side tires this time. So now he's got a fresh set of both.
Yeah, trying to make sure he's got the most tires ready for the end of this race, as it looks like really a lot of the drivers that are still out there staying out in the green and staying on the older tires. The top 11 actually staying out, as Gerald Campbell going to be leading the way with Hank Steinmiller, Christopher Morse Jr., and Randy Kokine coming into the pits. Those are the last drivers that are on the lead lap that came in. Rocky Boyd, the only car 4 laps down for that 25 machine, who was involved in that last incident.
Indeed so, as we're going to figure out what these drivers are going to be doing. Looks like that we might go to green this time as the yellow flag will be put away. No, we're going to go around yet again. So we go around 2 more times before we set them back under the way. Atkin, Green, and Myhand still your top 3. And Sam, this has been kind of a normal thing that we've seen these drivers up at the front throughout the entire race. Do you think there's any dethroning these top 3 or these top 2 really? As we've seen the third place decision.
It's hard to say, right? Because right now Jeff Green and Blaine Atkin have been so quick up front. I think for the longest time I thought maybe it was going to be Gerald Campbell, as he was showing some pace, but right now he's been struggling to get through the field and even stay up front, as he's been off sequence on the tires compared to the rest of the drivers out here. But due to the fact that he's going to have fresh tires, everyone else is going to have 20 plus laps on their tires. This is interesting to see if we can get a decently long green flag run. That 31 machine might be someone to watch out for later on, but based on the patterns that we've seen today, I don't think we're done with cautions just yet.
Oh no, not for sure. For sure, I should say. We're not done with cautions. I'll get the correct sentence out eventually. Atkin, Green, my hand, your 3 leaders again. Pace car is going to come down pit road. We're going to set these guys up at 151. We are officially on the downhill 25% of the races. We are going to go back to green. Now, Atkin with the green flag it looks like, oh, there's fanning out the back. Look at the 33 might have a run down into turn 1 on the 41, but not going to happen as now it looks like my hand is trying to catch it. Oh, the 5's come out of the pit road just now, so he's going to make his presence felt. They got to get around the 5 car now as he's going to be lap traffic in amongst of all these leaders.
Yeah, right now our leaders trying to figure out where they're going to be placing themselves to try to move forward, as well as Lake, actually, someone being in the top 10. Surprising to see that 81 machine up there as the drivers up front. They're still struggling to get by Schaefer, who just backs it down now heading into the pits. Actually brushes the wall there. But up front, still our leaders right on top of one another. Blaine Atkin, Jeff Green. They are within 0.2 of one another and pulling away from Dallas Myhan.
Looks like that Jeff Green is trying to make something happen with that 10 car. He knows he has to get around the 05 if he wants to have a shot at this win. The way that the race has been going, it's been really hard to pass. He might use the bumper here a little bit. He's got a run going into turn 1. What does he do? Backs off. Looks like he might be setting himself for a battle going into turn number 3. Oh, he slides a little bit, trying to get that 10 car wound up and spun around, but we are going green again. These 2 leaders have checked out. This battle for the lead continues to rage on.
And they keep on pushing as much as they can as our leaders are there. That battle for 3rd place continues as you got Whitendorf, Houndshell trying to get up to where Dallas Myhan is. We drop back to 8th place where we see the 51 of Zach Olson getting passed by the 3 of Christopher Morse Jr. on those fresher tires. The fresh tire guys, they started all the way back in 11th place. They've moved up now to 7th for Gerald Campbell as his next victim is going to be Joseph Kazi here. The 31 machine looking quick, and right now, based off the speed that's being placed, running faster than our leaders by 0.2.
Yeah, so he might make his presence felt very soon. If he gets a couple of good breaks, he might be able to do it, but battle for the lead is kind of subsidized at the moment as it's kind of just running around and see what the other competitor has. Although, back there for the 4th place position, oh, the 33 dove it in pretty deep on the 41. Almost got into the rear end of him, had to slow up quite a bit, but now he's going to have a run going into turn number 3. What can he do to the inside of the 41 of my hand? 6 it down to the inside. Battle for 3rd down the front stretch. Drag race down the front stretch. Who's going to get the advantage? You got to think it's the inside line of the 33.
Yeah, and right now Dallas Myhan's going to be stuck on the inside, as well as Steinmiller making a pass here on Gerald Campbell, as those are drivers that are on the same tire freshness as they continue to make battling to the back. As the 41 makes contact. Oh, they make more contact as Kazi and Myhan make a little bit of bumping, as well as I believe Houndshell got a little bit of a bump on the rear end. Steinmiller on the outside trying to make those tires work, but he's got to get the momentum going as they're kind of getting blocked here. The 5 comes back onto the track. Steinmiller doing contact with Myhan. Myhan gets spun around, but able to save it.
Oh, there's still contact between these 2 cars, and they're still going the right direction. 3 wide, going down into turn 1. You gotta think that this is gonna break. Oh, and they make it work somehow. Holy cow, they made it work. They're still gaggled up here, but man, that was an intense couple of circuits. Oh, the 5!
Oh, Schaefer into the 3 of Morse Jr. and also into Campbell. Schaefer giving no regards to the fact that these are lead lap drivers and just forcing his way through.
You gotta think that he's showing himself to be. Oh, he's kind of blanked out of the session a little bit, but I don't think he's come back on the racetrack. So no harm, no foul for the. Oh no, he hasn't. So the 5 is actually, I think, fell out of the race. Did the 5? So something not to worry about now, as yeah, Schaefer has fallen out of the session. So what could have been a really intense couple of corners has turned into something a little less than that as the 5 has gone out of the race officially. But man, the battle between the 41 and the 31 is still side by side.
Well, As Green finally has gone by Atkin and is now in the lead, but the crossover move is there. Atkin to the inside as they continue to battle back and forth, just making it 39 laps to go for these drivers here at the Virginia 200 at Martinsville, as there's still side-by-side contact again between the leaders, as this is going to be bringing Whitendorf and Houndshell back into the mix here as they continue to beat and bang up front.
Yeah, there's some damage on the back end of the 05. You think that these two drivers have exchanged some fenders from the battling on the racetrack, and now it looks like the Green's going to try and take another run down into 1. He couldn't quite get the run down. Now he's going to go into 3, sending his stuff up. Like you said, here comes Whitendorf. He's bringing out
between the two. Green spins around. Green tried to use the bumper but could not as he spins around and stays out of contact between other drivers. That brings out caution number 18. But Green trying to muscle his way past Blaine Atkin there.
Man, and he almost made it work, but the back end said no. He spun around. Credit to him from keeping it off the wall and other drivers from not hitting him. But the one place we didn't think we'd see a yellow flag come from is the two leaders who've been so consistent all day long. And now Jeff Green finds himself running in 6th place. He's got a fast car. I don't know if he can carve his way through the field. We went on a pretty long green flag run. There's only a few laps left in the race.
And everyone's coming in the pits. Everyone is deciding it now is the time to come into the pits here late. Even Gerald Campbell, who was pitted on that last pit stop, decides to come in. As looking at it, Christopher Morris Jr., one of the cars that will be staying out, as well as Seth Harrelson. And I believe also Todd Eldridge is staying out for these drivers. I think this is a great move for the 3 machine to stay out, get that bonus point for a lap led, which will help him extend that lead, hopefully, or at least help the diminish of him losing points here later in this run. But man, that contact between our leaders was wild to see. We're going to go back and try to take a different look on that battle that happened and the contact between Atkin and Green.
And the battle between those drivers really heated up in the closing stages of that green flag run. And I think he just overcooked it trying to use the bumper. And I think he was trying to stay off of the leader and actually just spun it around, trying to correct himself from just plain running into him. But man, it's so tough for these drivers to pass here. And the two leaders ended up getting together as Atkin is going to come out of pit road actually at the 3rd place position now.
3rd place for Atkin. Gerald Campbell came out first. Between those drivers, went for the 2-tire stop, which he's shown it that it's worked out before. So I see this is a great move for himself.
Indeed so. And take a look at who's leading the race now. Christopher Morse Jr. has decided to roll the dice, saying, okay, I'm going to try and stay out. I've only got 13-lap old tires. And we've seen that old tires can play with new tires throughout a run. So this might be crucial for him going into next week. He might be able to lock up the championship today with a good run, at least.
I mean, based on where they're running right now, it's going to be it would be very close on where drivers are running right now. Dallas Myhan running back in 8th place. And the points that Christopher Morris Jr. would be getting by winning this race would be a lot. Still too close to call. I mean, we've seen the 3 machine, when we go green, he usually is falling back, running around 8th, 9th, sometimes even further back than that. So this track has been brutal for Christopher Morris Jr., who can't wait to go back to the 1.5 miles where he's been so good in that 3 machine.
Yeah, he really wants to get back there, and thankfully, the final race of the season is a 1.5 mile track, so just what he needed. The pace car is going to come off yet again. Now we have a very different looking top 3. Morse Jr., Campbell, and Atkin are your top 3 as we're about ready to go back to green flag racing here on lap 170 of 200 as it looks like that Campbell was like, no, I'm not waiting. And he got a whale of a jump, but it looks like Atkin's going to send him into turn 1. He's going to get the power down. Oh, he's on the rumble strip just a little bit, but gets the power down going straight. And now he's going to be side by side with the leader. Oh, there's a fishtail going into turn 3. He almost checked up. He did check up. Oh, there's going to be contact between him and Atkin Atkin almost looped it around in the exit of 4.
Atkin able to continue holding on, making the pass now past Morse Jr. Morse Jr. now going to be passed here by Houndshell. You don't want to be seeing that. Houndshell running now in the third place. And down my hand. Heavy contact in the back. That's going to be taking up the 41 machine. We stay green, though, as the 41 of Dallas Myhand goes into the water barrels as we stay green with 29 laps to go now. Wild action to see as Blaine Atkin pushes Campbell up the track. Now going to be side by side down the backstretch.
Atkin really wants his position back. He's going to get the 31 cleared going into 3. Now here comes the 83 of Houndshell. Houndshell might be able to pull something out of this. He's got pace. Back there, the 33 of Whitendorf, who we've talked about all night as being a top runner. He might have something to say for these drivers. The 31 has struggled to get power down. I have no idea why Houndshell hasn't been able to capitalize on this yet, but as I say that, it looks like he might have something for the 31 going into turn 4, maybe into turn 1.
Houndshell going to be right on the back bumper. Caution in the back, though. That's going to be Shane Lake blowing up his engine. Our first blow up, it seems like, this race. Todd Eldridge involved and Seth Harrelson as we take a quick FRN replay for caution number 19.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars that was scattered throughout turn number 3, and I think that Eldridge got in there late. He was not one of the ones that caused this. It was actually, I think, Harrelson.
Harrelson into Rocky Boyd. Then, oh man, Lake was not even the car that looked like that was an issue. If anything, I think you can go back there, Anthony, and see if there was any contact previously between Rocky Boyd and Harrelson. But man, heavy contact for those drivers as we go back to see, because Rocky Boyd and Harrelson, they were battling entering turn number 1 here. Boyd kind of moves the 07 up a little bit, and maybe he didn't like that and came back with the retaliation there.
It didn't even look like he didn't try to hit the brakes. He just slammed it in there.
Came flying through. Todd Eldridge had to slide by. Luckily avoided the 81 machine, but a very aggressive wreck there.
Back further. So Harrelson was in a string of bad luck. He had gotten moved out of the way by the 10 of green. Then he got bypassed by the 51 and the 81 a long time ago. 81 actually made some contact. Then the 16 comes through, tries to make the same move that he did. It was a string of bad luck that the 87 driver, I think, the 07 of Harrelson, I think he was just a little bit mad about losing so many positions, but why would you take it out on the 16 is my question. Equipment failure, I don't think is an option here. He took out 2 drivers because 2 drivers were smoking on that exchange, the 81, I believe, and the 16. So if he doesn't get parked, I'd be surprised because that did not look like an accident.
Yeah, there's the first contact with Lake, and then you see here, I mean, this was a lap before the incident happened, and then coming into this corner, got on the rumble strips, it looked like Rocky Boyd, then he came in, rubbed the 07 up a little bit, and then entering into turn number 4, Seth Harrelson said no on the brakes and just slammed. I think he was just tired. I mean, he got moved like 4 times in that stint and just was fed up with the way things were going for himself.
When driver aggression ramps up like that, it's almost too much to tame. And, you know, as much as I understand, it's still, I don't think that this should go unpenalized if I was a marshal down on the racetrack at the moment. Although, it's tough to call. It's late in the race. You spent most of the time under pacing. You really want to try and make moves, and then you get moved all the way to the back. I've been in that position before. It's still flat takeout by Harrelson, and I don't think he missed the brakes there, but about ready to set them back up. Atkin, Campbell, and Houndshell is going to be your top 3.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, with this top 3. We've seen Campbell. He looks like he might be struggling with this 2 tires, way different from the ones that he was working with previously. Campbell trying to make these 2 tires work compared to everyone else that's 4 tires to work with. But here we are, green. Caution early in the back already. As, oh my goodness, it's going to be coking involved in this one.
Coking is smoking now, so that's his day done in the 46 machine, and this might have been restart shenanigans. He didn't even cross the line before he was spun around. It didn't look like he just got crossed it. Oh, man.
Also, cars behind them were having issues. So we're going to take multiple views of what happened on this restart.
Oh, the
But
three.
oh, man. Yeah, Morris came in with a head of steam and turned Coking around and put the 46 involved. Rocky Boyd was still running even with that blown up engine somehow. I don't know how he's still out there without being parked with all the smoke he's billowing up, but oh man, it's getting messy out here coming to the finish of this race.
That was a hard shot to the inside wall for Coking, and I don't know if that was intentional on the part of the three. It definitely didn't look like it.
He came down and then came back up thinking he was probably clear. The nose was not, and just clipped the 46 into the caution. We're now going to take a quick look here. What happened to Rocky Boyd and the rest of the crew back there, if anything happened, or if it was just Rocky smoking. And
I think that was from earlier on. I think Boyd's retired now.
Yeah, he retired, but he didn't get going, and it looks like Hank Steinmiller might have been involved due to the fact of the green coming out and running into the 16 here, as this was right before Coking's incident, and yeah, Steinmiller gets ran into and forced in the inside wall, and that 63 machine with a little bit of damage to work with, as multiple cars now out of this race.
Yeah, we have, I believe, 2 that are going to be added to the list of drivers not making the finish, and that's going to be the 11 of Coking and the second of the 16 drivers being Rocky Boyd. Man, what a wild exchange. First, the caution involving Harrelson and others, and now we have this one involving the points leader and others. This has shaped up to be quite a knockdown dragout, and we've still got north of 15 laps to go. It's getting down to crunch time, though, for these drivers, and now looking at the way that they're running, I would struggle to see anybody take a challenge at Atkin. I think that Atkin might walk away with this win, because Campbell's not up to speed. I don't think that Houndshell has anything for Campbell. And Whitendorf, who has been consistently fast, I don't think he has to get around Campbell and Houndshell before he can have a shot at Atkin. And we've seen tough passing being made, and it's being tough to pass. So this could be, quite the beatdown for the final laps of the race.
Now, Anthony, I'm going to tell you this for the audience as well. Lap 195, if we have a caution after 195, this race most likely will end under yellow. So that's the marker these drivers are aiming for. If a caution happens before that, we might be finding ourselves with a 5 or even to a 3 or maybe even a 1-lap shootout for these drivers. A lot of things can happen here at the end. There's no overtime for these drivers. 87 rules. That means we could be ending ourselves under yellow based on how these drivers are racing. Pace cars, Zopp, Blaine Atkin, Gerald Campbell, and Jake Houndshell getting ready to go.
We're going to set them underway on lap 185, I should say. It looks like that Atkin's going to take a defensive line, and on the outside line, Houndshell is going to be on the outside of Campbell. Campbell's going to try and keep it to the inside. He does so. It's Alpha turn number 2. They are rocketing down the back stretch, and it looks like that Atkin is going to pull out an advantage. Whitendorf trying to figure out where he can put his car to get around the 83 and the 31. And so far, we're clean and green.
Right now, we're running pretty good. Jake Houndshell running in 3rd place. He needs to move up even further than that due to the fact that Christopher Morris Jr. is running in 8th. Caution being out. Todd Eldridge bringing this one out. Caution number 21 of today. It's been a long one here for a lot of these drivers, and Steinmiller involved again.
Man, and I think that was just a shunt again into turn. No, Eldridge got into Steinmiller. So
it looked like Steinmiller got in front of him, slowed down way earlier than Eldridge was expecting, and contact made between those drivers.
Yeah, and then he got beached on the little grass strip on the inside of turn 1, not really been able to get away from that. So
it started a little bit earlier because this is coming to getting ready to go, getting past was Steinmiller, past Eldridge, and then he came in front and then just completely slowed up. And Eldridge was not expecting to slow down that quick, and the contact was made.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for the driver of the both the 63 and the 96, who were just trying to salvage anything they could have at the end of this race. And the benefit, though, I think that they might still have a faster pair. I know the 96 looks incredibly good for having been involved in so many incidences so far. So methinks he might have used his only faster pair at the moment, but still under pacing. Blaine Atkin is still the leader of the race. Pretty much everyone is running the same place they were when we got the green. So we're going to set them up for about a 7-lap shootout, perhaps.
Yeah.
As if we get to 195, like you said, this race could be ending under yellow. And the way this race has been going, you know that these drivers are going to be aggressive in the later stages, and we are in the later stages. So hasn't gotten any less aggressive. These drivers looking to close out the race, maybe trying to dive bomb, get some positions, and the way these cars handle, I don't know if they'll be able to do it.
Right now, looking at where drivers are running at the moment, for points wise, you've got up front, you got Jake Houndshell, who was coming into this race 100 points back. He needed to run about 8 positions ahead from Christopher Morris Jr. if he wanted a mathematical chance to come and beat the 3 machine next week at Atlanta. It's not looking so great due to the fact that they're not really spaced out as much as they need to be. Christopher Morris Jr. is back in 8th place for the 3 machine, running ahead of Dallas Myhan, who coming into this race was 47 points back. So still a possible chance for those 2 machines to battle it out next week to see who will win the championship. But up front, Anthony, it's been a wild one. We're coming to less than 10 laps to go, and we go green again. Blaine Atkin looking good in that 0-5 machine. I don't think Gerald Campbell really has anything for him here, even though they've got very similar tires to work with. It's just the fact that Gerald Campbell has 2 tires when the last pitted compared to the 4 tires that Blaine Atkin had.
Yeah, and Atkin, the only driver that's been able to consistently run the same lap times as him is Green, and he finds himself back in 6th. He's got a long way to go to get back out to the lead of the race, so it's going to be, I think, if everything goes the way it is right now, to your point, it looks like that it might just be an Atkins running all the way to the end of the race. Now, Campbell might get a little impatient and try to dive bomb into turn 1 on one of these restarts. He might get a run, maybe think that he can do it, because these drivers are only going to have less than 10 laps to go at this stage of the race. So Atkins is going to have a restart of his life as he's going to be on the inside going defensive. 31's right on the back bumper. What's he going to do? Oh, he's going to take him to the inside. There's what I thought he was going to do. To the inside. Oh, and he's going to make contact.
Oh my goodness, they go around. No yellow yet. There it goes. As Campbell clusters up with a lot of them. Houndshell involved in that wreck. No, you hate to see it for the points race. Houndshell needed a top 3 finish, and it's not looking good for him now.
And the one driver that got away from that is the leader, Atkin. So he was able to save it. That puts Whitendorf in 2nd place, and he's been one of the 3 drivers that have been the fastest all night long, certainly the most consistent of the drivers tonight. So this might be a few lap shootout to the end of the race between Atkin and Whitendorf now.
Christopher Morris Jr. making a little bit of contact there with Steinmiller after avoiding so many cars, trying to get through there, and it's just so many vehicles there. It was just on the restart entering 1 and 2, and hard racing, and a lot of drivers seeing their championship hopes disappear just like that. I was on board with Houndshell, and after the contact, it just spun around the 83, and he'll be starting in the middle of the field. With how many laps are going to be left, this is going to be our last chance. This is it. We are this there. If we see another caution, the race will finish under yellow, or we'll go racing to the end.
This was, I think, exactly what I thought was going to happen between the 31 and the 05. Is we alluded to it before the restart even happened that it's going to take a Herculean effort to get around the 05, and he saw it, and he, I think, got the best restart that he could have all night long, and just out on the inside couldn't get it slowed down in enough time. Give credit to Atkin, who actually saved the car going through turn 1 and was able to point it go in the right direction. But yeah, a lot of drivers' hopes just got dashed, including Houndshell's. We're going to line them back up. Atkin is praying for the checkered flag at this point because now he's got a really fast car behind him who's been fast all night. That car is still looking nice and clean from when it started the race. That being the 33 of Whitendorf, has kept his nose clean all race long, now finds himself in a position to challenge for the lead. The first time he's been in this position for a long time in this race. And now Joseph Causey, who is seen up at the front, at the back, the middle, the front, the back, the middle again. He is now running in third again. Green trying to make his way back up to the front. He's running in fourth place. Morse Jr., who came into this race with the first driver having bad luck of the points leaders, is now running in fifth. So salvaging whatever he can from others' misfortune, he might be in a position to capitalize on the downfall of Houndshell, maybe knocking him out of contention next week.
Yeah, Houndshell needed to finish ahead of Christopher Morris Jr. by about 8 positions if he wanted a chance mathematically for a championship next week. And due to the fact that he's behind Christopher Morris Jr. at the moment and Dallas Myhan, it's not looking good for the 83 machine of Jake Houndshell, who throughout the whole entire season, consistent runs. It's just a little bit of bad luck at the end of the season that took his chances out. But up front, it's time to figure out who's going to be winning here at the Virginia 200 at Martinsville for the Hijinx Clothing Vintage GeForce 87 Series here tonight. This is it. This is the final restart. We're either going to finish under yellow or we're going to race to the checkered flag as they're all fanning out. As the Atkin gets spun again, and they do the same exact movement. All goes around. Atkin up front, Weidendorf battling it side by side. I don't know who's in the front. I think it might have been Atkin.
Atkin is going to win this race if he can get it around for 2 more times on the yellow. Weidendorf had a run, got into Atkin. Atkin with another fantastic save. But now Jeff Green has been involved in that wreck. Shane Lake, Seth Harrelson. A lot of these drivers find themselves in the back of the pack. So too does Christopher Morris Jr. Actually finds himself running in third place now. So now Atkin just has to go around for 1 more rotation.
And he's got caught up to the pace car. Blaine Atkin sees the white flag and the yellow flag as he gets to the pace machine. And once this race is over, we'll go back and take a replay of what just went down, as that was chaos, the same exact way that we got our caution number 22. 23 came out of a driver trying to absolutely move the rear end of the 05 of Blaine Atkin and unable to. Blaine Atkin's 05 machine is built like a tank. That thing did not want to move. He has been pushed around at least 4 times by 4 different drivers, and he did not get pushed at all, completely out of the way. Blaine Atkin is going to be getting it done here at Martinsville, as he was the one who survived all the carnage. Blaine Atkins gets another win on it for his belt.
And a survival win at that. He survived the onslaught of not only Weidendorf, but a lap before that, he survived the onslaught of Campbell, and now finds himself going to victory lane here at Martinsville. A winner tonight. So much happened. He goes through inspection, going towards the start-finish line, or trying to find the, I believe he's going to his garage. I'm not sure where he's going at the moment, but
he certainly is trying to find something out there.
I think he's just in shock, kind of happy this race is over, wants to pack it up and go back home, but he is your winner here tonight. Yeah, he's going to the truck.
Straight to the garage. He's done. Now he wants to get out of here because of how much chaos there was. As we're going to take a quick replay and see exactly what happened for that final caution to come out and end this race under yellow, because, man, Anthony, that was a wild ride for those drivers.
That was certainly one of the dive bombs of the century that we saw here tonight, and it was on the restart. The 33 just wanted to send it in as deep as he could, but actually got under the back of the 05, saved it, and then back there, Causey went around, and that is kind of what made everyone pile in to the rest of the field. And man, you got to think that these drivers, after that restart, have got to be thankful that the 05 saved it and got to the line. There was somebody going to be winning this race. It was either going to be the 33 or the 05 at that point. Not a whole lot of cars were involved as much as I thought they were. They just kind of got slowed down by the spinning 46.
Yeah, it was a wild one for sure, as we're going to take a look at the racing results here. Blaine Atkin able to survive after being pushed around so many times. John Weidendorf second. Christopher Morris Jr. third. Dallas Myhan fourth. Great finishes for the both of them, keeping it close. And Dallas Myhan will have a chance next week if he can somehow have more points and finish about 8 positions, kind of like similar situation Jake Hounshell was in today. If he can do it successfully next week at Atlanta, Dallas Myhan has a chance to steal the championship away from Christopher Morris Jr. Jake Hounshell will finish 5th. Too far out, mathematically will not be having a chance to battle for the championship next week. It was a great season for that 83. Gerald Campbell, Zach Onsen, Hank Steinmiller, Todd Eldridge. Todd Eldridge with a top 10 finish. That is a great day for the 96 machine. And Joseph Kazi.
Yeah, that top 10 has changed throughout the entire race all night long. 11th through 17th is going to be Harrelson Green. Finds himself in a 12th place finish after having one of the most dominant cars all night long. Finds himself outside the top 10. Shane Lake, Randy Koking, looks like Rocky Boyd, Eric Schaefer, and Anthony Gurneri are going to be rounding out the field of 17. But tonight's race was a battle of attrition between not only the cars, not only the track, but finding out what your other drivers around you were going to do. And a lot of them had to make desperate moves in order to get position because passing was not easy tonight.
No, it was not easy at all. As the drivers, it was all about surviving for sure. So many wrecks, a total of 23. Which I believe that is a Flatout Racing Network record of the most cautions that have come out. But that was kind of expected with being a short track race. We saw hard racing for some retaliations throughout this race. It was hard knock battling. But for Anthony and I, we're going to take a quick break to get everyone set up for interviews later on after this race. So we'll go side-by-side action. We'll be right back for interviews here in a second.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation, a new generation of leaders steps up in the Veterans of Foreign Wars and fights for the veterans community.
The Veterans of Foreign Wars. No one does more for veterans. For more information on the VFW, go to ahctv.com/sacrifice.
Most everyone involved in sim racing always wants that edge or even make the experience a little bit better, or in this case, a little bit more in-depth.
Thank you for all of our amazing sponsors as we're now in the post-race wind down. So far, I believe we only have one driver ready for interviews, and that's going to be our winner, Blaine Atkin, as we're going to be moving him into the booth. Blaine, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
Yes, I do.
So the realest question for you right now has to be, how did you survive? And is your car a tank at this point after all the times you were trying to get moved by other machines?
Oh, I don't even know, dude. I mean, I was on the same car that hit the wall probably around like 50 or 60, so it was just kind of off. But I mean, shoot, it was a heck of a race between everyone that was up in the front.
Yeah, it looked like it was difficult for almost everyone out there. I mean, what was the handling of the car out there? Because it just looked tough from everyone's point of view.
It'd get really, really tight going in, but I think that was just the right front wearing off. But coming off the corner, it was just really loose. So, I mean, it was kind of a lose-lose situation, and I think everyone did a heck of a job hanging on to it. Just a whole lot of cautions that weren't needed.
You and Jeff Green were undoubtedly the fastest cars tonight, although Steinmiller had something for you guys at the very end of the race in the 33. Do you think that even with the damage, you had a faster car than maybe Green had all night long? And battling, even on those long green flag runs when you guys were battling, it seemed that you could put your car wherever you needed to in order to make passing as difficult as possible. So basically, what was your mentality defending, and do you think you had the fastest car overall tonight?
Oh, I definitely didn't have the fastest car. Jeff had the fastest car by far, and I was just doing everything in my possibility just to try to keep up with him and keep him from getting the lead there.
Yeah, I mean, Blaine, it was a long race, 200 laps, 23 cautions in total. How was it? I mean, usually when we go to short tracks and even Martinsville, usually it is a caution fest at times, but how is it mentally trying to keep yourself moving forward and staying up front?
I think the thing that you need to do is just not think about like your mistakes and stuff, and just keep on racing and just try not to think about what you could have done better and what you could have done worse. Because I don't really even know. It was just a heck of a race.
Well, Blaine, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I want to thank SP Carburetors and everyone else that was on my car tonight. Jake's Photography and Paint Performance.
As Blaine Atkin getting the win here at Martinsville for the Virginia 200. Congratulations, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you next week at Atlanta.
Sir.
I mean, Anthony, a wild race overall for these drivers, and can't believe how wild it just continued to grow throughout. I mean, what was some of your final thoughts for this race?
It was survival of the fittest, and we saw that a lot of the drivers it showed who had the better setup throughout the race. Being able to, we saw Atkin get run into several times and was able to save the car, and he did get the wall earlier in the race and was still able, after even that, he didn't repair the car, he was fast repaired, nothing, was able to keep the car going, and that was kind of what we expected from Martinsville. Just because you got a damaged car doesn't mean you're not still fast. And man, it's just, I think a lot of these drivers were just ready for it to be over tonight. It was a long one for these drivers, and definitely a battle of attrition.
A driver that just got loaded in for interviews possibly here, as we're going to be bringing him in. This is going to be Christopher Morris Jr. into the booth. Hey, Chris, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
I got you.
I know that was a long race for you, and it was probably the longest race for you completely because you were one of the first cars to be involved in a wreck. How was it trying to battle from the start of the race to the end to be in a top 3 position?
Man, the whole race was just really rough. I don't know why, but for some reason there was just no give out there for 200 laps. And I mean, yeah, from the first caution I got involved in, it was just trying to battle back. I didn't want to use the fast repair, and then around like lap 150, I thought I was safe to use it, and I guess not. So it was just rough. Probably one of our worst races of the season, but you're gonna have that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was your worst race for you, probably mentally throughout the whole entire race, but you still finished in front of all the other points contenders, giving you a little bit more of a buffer going to next week. How are you feeling about going into Atlanta next week, going for this championship?
I'm really confident in Atlanta, man. I've just been trying to survive the last 3 weeks. The last 3 tracks haven't been very strong for me at all. But Atlanta, when we went there last time, I think I got spun out in like the last final laps, last 5 or so leading, and I drove up from, if I remember, like 14 up to less than 30 to go. So I'm pretty confident in that. If my math is right, if I can finish like 8th or better, there's nothing anybody can do. Pretty confident.
Yeah, we were actually thinking you might have taken the points lead or the points or the overall championship tonight because of the way that the race was had ups and downs. You were the first of the championship contenders to have issues tonight, and then luck kind of went your way throughout the rest of the race, and you found yourself in 3rd place, which you got to admit kind of gives you some morale boost going into Atlanta. But speaking on Atlanta again, given the fact that you do have that points buffer going into Atlanta, you think that maybe perhaps the focus, I know for a race car driver, me being one as well, you never want to back down and say, I'm going to let somebody else win this race if I could take the championship. I know that you're going to be gunning for it, but do you think that maybe you'll be breathing a little bit easier and maybe have a little bit more of a buffer going into Atlanta rather than going out guns blazing saying, I have to win this race?
So yeah, there's two ways to look at it. I could go into Atlanta and I could just try to finish 8th, or try to finish top 5. I think I finished outside of the top 5 twice. So I feel like that's pretty doable. But at the same time, the 1.5 miles are my favorite tracks to go to. I really feel like I should have won Atlanta early on in the season. And I'm going out to win. I don't want anybody else doing donuts on the front straightaway when it's over. You know what I mean? So if you've watched throughout the season, which obviously you guys have, but if anybody that's not doing the broadcast and is just watching, we paid attention. I'm not out there trying to lead a lot of laps. I think Charlotte's a good example. I sat there and I got to the front a couple times, got put in the back by pit strategy, but I never really pushed to try to get to the front, and then I just waited until the end to try to go. So that's going to be kind of the same mindset. I'm not going to try to go lead a ton of laps at Atlanta, but I will guarantee you, unless something goes wrong, I'll be in the top 3, and I'll be somewhere up there, especially towards the end.
Well, Chris, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Oh, man, I don't even know who to shout out for this race. Shout out to you guys for through it. And anybody who's watching, I've never been involved in quite such a demo derby as tonight. It's ridiculous. I know Atlanta next week will be a good race. So if you were watching for the first time tonight, don't get turned away. This is one of them tracks with this car maybe we just get rid of or something. It didn't mix well. This is not an every week thing.
No, it really is. And the last time we were at Atlanta, it was a blast to see as the drivers were slipping and sliding. That was back when we started the season for the 4th race of the season. But Chris, good finish here tonight, getting 3rd place, and good luck next week. Hopefully we'll be talking to you as the champion, and hopefully maybe you'll be the winner of next week at Atlanta.
That's the plan, man. Going to try to get 2 trophies. Dallas has been tough all season, so I'm definitely not counting them out. But like I said, I feel pretty confident we can go out and get a top 5.
And that was Christopher Morse Jr. in the 3 machine, finishing 3rd. But Anthony, we just got done with the wind down. Next week is the championship race. It's at Atlanta, and the title of the race, Last Call at Atlanta. It's between Christopher Morse Jr. and Dallas Myhand. I mean, who do you got? Because it's going to be close between those drivers.
It is close. The advantage definitely goes to Morse because he has that bigger points lead gap. Again, 87 rules, meaning there is no playoffs. Your points carry over throughout the rest of the season, which is the purest form of racing, I should add. I'm not going to get into that argument, but I'm glad that they're doing the old point system with the that carries over. So there is a definite advantage for Morse going into next week's race. As he said, all he has to do is finish 8th. And then he's won the championship no matter where Myhand finishes on the racetrack. Now, if he gets taken out and has a bad finish and somehow Myhand wins the race, we might be seeing a different story. I think if he finishes outside the top 8, certainly outside the top 10, Morse wins the race. Or not, sorry, Myhand wins the race. Then we could see a very different championship scenario at the end of Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta is going to be wild. You might be wondering, where did drivers finish last time they were at Atlanta? Christopher Morse Jr. finished 8th, the bubble marker that he's been talking about. Dallas Myhand finished 5th. So both drivers going to be aiming for better finishes than what they did back last time they were racing there. But there were a lot of drivers, a lot of racing action. It's going to be a wild one. As we're finishing up tonight, Anthony, like always, thank you for being up in the booth with me.
It's always a pleasure being in the booth with you, and I am excited for this next week for the championship battle, and excited to see you Thursday for IndyCar.
IndyCar is going to be wild to see because those drivers are going to put on a show, as they're going to be, I believe, next week. For this upcoming Thursday, they have a day off. So this week on Thursdays, they're actually only going to be the RTG Talladega Challenge. But for tomorrow night, you've got RTG's series. I believe I don't have the exact racetrack they're going to be racing at, but that series is going to be great for the NR side of things. And then also you got the SARG Super Speedway race. They're going to Michigan. It's the one switch up between Daytona and Talladega. It's going to be race 5 of the season. It's going to be wild to see with tire strategies involved with that one. But for tonight, my name is Sam Dyer. This is Anthony McCurry. Thank you for watching another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network. It's been a blast here to watch all the carnage at Martinsville. We survived it. 23 cautions in all. Lane Atkins, after being pushed around like crazy, survived to be the winner. Cannot wait for the championship race next week at Atlanta for these drivers for the Hijinx closing vintage G-Force 87 series. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. Can't wait to see it. Have a great rest of your night.